Some moments don't begin with fireworks, they start with something so small, so ordinary, you almost miss the way it changes everything. For Emily, it was just a belt. Or at least, that's what she thought. But the truth. That night was the first time in years she felt her pulse race for something other than stress. And it all began in a kitchen bathed in twilight. The sun had dipped low, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and deep blue. Emily stood at the sink, her hands submerged in warm, soapy water. The dishes were already clean, yet she lingered, running her fingers along the rim of a plate as if the simple repetition could steady her restless mind. The hum of the dishwasher filled the air, a mechanical heartbeat covering the silence that had long settled between her and her husband. It wasn't the kind of silence that brought comfort, it was heavy, a fog that had seeped into every corner of her life. David, her husband of 16 years, sat in the living room with the TV flickering. They hadn't fought. They hadn't even drifted apart in some dramatic explosion of betrayal. They'd simply eroded. Piece by piece, the laughter, the shared glances, the stolen hallway kisses had been replaced with quiet dinners, polite conversations, and a back turned to her in bed. Once, their silences had felt safe, like a shared blanket on a winter night. Now, they felt like locked doors. She didn't hear footsteps until the voice broke her thoughts. "Hey, Emily." Her head turned, water dripping from her hands onto the floor. Standing in the doorway was Liam, David's son from his first marriage, her 23-year-old stepson who had been away at college for the past year. Taller than she remembered, his dark hair tousled, a faint smile tugging at his lips, Liam's presence filled the kitchen in a way that startled her. "What's up?" she asked, drying her hands on a dish towel. He held up a worn leather belt, the buckle twisted awkwardly. "Ah, I think I broke this. Can you help?" Emily smirked. "You're a grown man, Liam. Can't fix your own belt?" He laughed, stepping closer, the belt dangling loosely in his hand. "Laugh it up. It's stuck." "I tried, but," he shrugged. She reached for it. Their fingers brushed, just for a second, but the contact jolted through her like a spark. Focusing on the buckle, she tugged and twisted until the leather gave way with a snap. In the movement, Liam's jeans slipped slightly, revealing a sliver of skin above his waistband before he caught them with a laugh. Emily's gaze lingered a moment too long before she forced her eyes up to his face. "Guess it's beyond saving," she said, her voice quieter than she intended. "Looks like it," he replied, fastening it again. For a heartbeat, they didn't move. His eyes held hers, and there was something unspoken there, something that made her pulse race in a way she hadn't felt in years. That night, she lay awake beside David. His back was turned, his steady snores filling the room. But Emily's mind wasn't on her husband. It was on Liam, on the way his nearness had felt, the way he had looked at her as if she wasn't invisible. The thought should have faded. It didn't. Days passed, but the undercurrent between them only grew. Little moments, a brush of his arm as he reached for a mug, a lingering glance across the living room, fed attention Emily both dreaded and craved. She told herself she was imagining it, that it was dangerous to think otherwise. But lines blur when someone steps close enough to feel your heartbeat. Then came the storm. David was away at a conference in Chicago. The sky outside turned the color of slate, the air heavy with the scent of rain. Emily curled on the couch with a blanket, a book open but unread in her lap. Lightning flashed, thunder cracked, and she flinched at the sound. The house felt too large, too quiet. Footsteps. Then Liam appeared, holding 2 steaming mugs. "Made tea," he said, handing her one. She took it, their fingers touching. "Thanks." He didn't sit across the room, he sat beside her, close enough that the heat from his arm seeped through the blanket. Another rumble of thunder, and she jumped. "Not a fan of storms?" he asked softly. "It's not the storm," she murmured, her eyes on the window. "It's the silence when David's gone." Liam's gaze stayed on her. "Is it the house that's quiet, or you?" Her breath caught. "Maybe both," she admitted. Without a word, she lifted the edge of the blanket. He hesitated, then slid under it, their shoulders brushing. The storm raged outside, but inside the world shrank to the space between them. Emily could feel his breath, steady and warm. She looked at him and found his eyes already on hers. There was no teasing in his expression. Only something intense, unguarded. Lightning flashed again, and she flinched. "You okay?" She nodded, though her throat was tight. "It's just storms." "I don't think it's the storm you're afraid of," he said. She didn't answer. His hand moved, slow and deliberate, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. The touch was featherlight, but it stopped her breath. "This is wrong," she whispered. "Then tell me to stop," Liam said. Emily didn't. She leaned in, and their lips met in a kiss that began soft but didn't stay that way. Years of loneliness unraveled in a rush. His hands were warm against her waist, hers curled in his shirt. He tasted of chamomile and rain, and for the first time in years, she felt alive. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, Liam rested his forehead against hers. "Tell me this wasn't a mistake." She swallowed. "I don't know what it means." "Then we figure it out," he said. But the truth loomed: David, family, history. Guilt crept in, quiet but insistent. She excused herself, splashing cold water on her face in the bathroom. The reflection staring back at her wasn't guilt-ridden, it was startled. Awake. Later, she told him, "I shouldn't have kissed you." "Do you mean that?" "I mean I shouldn't have, but I wanted to." He nodded slowly. "So did I." "This doesn't end well, Liam." "Because you're stepson," he finished. "Yes. I'm not a kid, Emily. And I've seen you for a long time. Really seen you." His words cracked something open inside her. She didn't have an answer. By morning, nothing had been resolved. But the silence between them wasn't empty anymore, it was charged. And when he asked if she regretted it, she told him the truth: no. But that doesn't make it right. Liam didn't push. He just said, "If it were just us, no titles, no history, would you still be afraid?" She hesitated. "No. I'll wait," he said, and walked away. Emily didn't know where the story would end. She only knew that in one night, she'd remembered what it was like to feel seen, and she wasn't sure she could ever forget.